Welcome to the Modern Spirituality Show. I'm here with Danielle LaPorte.
I'm here with Ben.
We're here together in the same place. How special is it that we're both alive right at this very moment, at the same time?
In your place.
And we're at my place.
Yeah, like that feeling of, like I always feel heartbroken when I walk by somebody on the street and they don't say hi. Because I just want to, I have a whole lesson around that, which I can unpack, but I'm just like, we're both alive at the same time and we're on the same street. And isn't it amazing? That's what I want to say. But then no hi. But then when I was being all judgy about it on social, and someone said, Danielle, you never know what someone's going through. Like, it could have been all they could do is get out of bed that day. So I'm just like, bless everybody. But like, hi, it's a miracle.
Hi. Yeah, it is. I just got back from, Michael Beckwith is on the board of Rhythmia in Costa Rica. Yeah. And so I mentioned earlier that I love Agape and am part of that community, but I really know Michael from Rhythmia. That's where like my personal relationship with him really is from. And I just got back.
Right up.
Like 2 seconds ago. Like just now. Like just the F now. Just now.
To Rhythmia,
yeah. So you've been?
Yeah.
Wow. What was your experience like there?
I didn't do medicine. I went because there was an invite of like, hey, maybe you could come down and do a workshop. And at the time, I lovingly gave them shit for not cleaning the place up energetically.
Well, thank you for that, because that is like top priority now. Yeah, top priority. And I have to say, they've been open, I don't know, like maybe like 6 years now. And time flies. Time flies. I mean, I've been experiencing like this like realization, like how like 6 years is actually like a substantial amount of time, you know. And I've been there twice, 2 or 3 times a year since they opened. And I will say, every time I go there, something's better. Like
you would hope, like just awakening and improving. And then there's basic customer service to have a space like that. Yeah, you want to be refining everything. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think like some of the things that I felt towards the beginning about purity of energy and sort of like the psychic hygiene of an atmosphere, you know?
People deny that in themselves. Like you can walk into a space and you'll sense, hear, feel like something's off. And then people will say to themselves, well, it must be me. It's like, no, it's such a dissonance, because we know we're energetic beings. We can walk in a space, we get like a little inkling, we deny it. I'm like, don't deny it. And it doesn't mean you don't go into the space. Right. And it doesn't mean that it's all unclean.
It's just another layer of consciousness.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like approaching it and being like, okay, so that's part of the dynamic here. Am I going to... Then you have like a self-evaluation.
Exactly. You can fill yourself with more love. So it's like, you and I could like be really great friends, which we probably will be. But you know, you get with somebody and you're just like, something's off. That conversation didn't feel like it was complete. It was over. It's the same thing with just energy and spaces. Yes,
yeah.
Atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, just clean it up. Just like be like, oh, I'm gonna be more loving. I'm gonna be more compassionate. Or we need to like open the windows or light a candle or do something to get this right. Let's clear the air. Let's clear the air, literally, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the blessing I think that Rhythmia specifically as an atmosphere has is that they have feedback from people, you know, like you did and like me, like I do every single time. I'm like,
and I want to be fed grapes after I get out of the pool.
Luckily, the food is fully on point. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's you know, anytime you have an experience somewhere, I look at it when I give someone I really love or a community I really love who's been there for me for years, like Rhythmia. Yeah. When you go somewhere 14 times, it's more than what they're paying you. Of course, because they kind of like notoriously don't pay their guest speakers well. So it's clearly about community.
Yeah, it's family.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes with family, you're like,
fluff the pillows.
Yeah, totally. And you know what I will say? This week I was like, The pillows have been fluffed. Thank you. Like
Yeah,
I
got what you
moved.
needed.
Yeah, I moved to the week and just felt like, wow, they're really on. The team is really on, and I could tell that they were really grounded. They both had like, there had been like a maturity that moved through the being that is the group, you know? And I've been there for it, and it's hard. And it's been really hard. And there have been like a lot of really hard conversations, you know, just like with the development of any kind of community, especially I think of a spiritual community, you know, because you have like this other standard that you must hold yourself to.
Yep, clean vibration, clean cutlery. It's all layers, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And that's so true in our home too. Okay, I have to just say, you have made 100 million zillion amazing, gorgeous books, and this incredible companion deck. So what we're holding up on the video, if you're seeing, is the How to Be Loving book, journal, and deck. How to Be Loving, first of all, okay, anyone who listens to my show knows that I'm super into like the perennial teachings of all ages, right guys? So we talk about it's a lot of interfaith dialogue, you know, which I know that you're also masterful in. And compassion and love is the new world religion.
Yes.
It's the core world religion. It's the original world religion. Love is all, it's central, core, and prioritized in every single spiritual system. And so for you to go as clean as How to Be Loving is, and I see right here, a heart-centered approach to living. It's like, you are a high priestess in the new world religion, in the new world religion that honors every single lineage that came before it, which is, you know, the collection of the global lineages, you know? And so, real recognize real. Me too, girl. Me too, okay? And so I just like want to recognize that. I have a vibe from where you're coming from. I'm getting a vibe from where you're coming from, for what the, you know, for what the sources of your inspiration are. And I trust your sources. I trust the source that informs you, the source and master that you serve. Love. Okay, so how on earth, I don't even know where to begin with you, because clearly you're a legend. Anyone who's listening to this has already like been exposed to your material and your teachings. You've been in this community supporting women and men, especially now that we're looking at the role, the seats that the millennial generation is sitting in, and the interest that people are younger and younger, these new generations are taking, you know, personal and spiritual development work.
What are they? What's the millennials are making babies that are called what?
The Alpha Gen.
The Alpha Gen. Just learned something. Yeah, it's really great. Yeah.
The Alpha Gen has entered the chat. Welcome. Yeah, the Alpha Gen is really, really interesting because they're collectively experiencing that childhood moment when there are more kids in the home than parents. Have you ever had that?
I'm an only child, so no.
Okay, well, allow me to share something.
Okay.
When there are more children in the home than parents,
Yeah.
the power structure changes.
Well, you have 5 brothers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when I was born, I'm the 3rd child.
So you're middle baby.
Middle baby, yeah, exactly. And the power structure changed when I was born. And it's not because I had so much power, it's that the children had a democratic ruling. Exactly. And I have heard women say, like, once that baby's ready to come, they're in charge. There's like, you know, like with you know, as a man, I am always really honored to hear about like the whole magic of birth, and even the moon cycles, and just like learning about that. And I'm like, oh, this shit is what we have to sit at the feet of and listen to. You know, as men, we have to. I think this is one of the things that we have to honor the most. I agree. And that's also why I see your work sort of coming in as this really important initiation.
Well, I think love, I mean, you're talking about love being the new religion, right. Which I think it's this, you know, we're coming full circle. It's always been the religion, but it's been masked by all the toxic stuff and all of that. But I feel that people know that love is the game changer. It's like we have an awareness. It's like we know that being as loving as possible in an intimate relationship is going to change everything. We know that being as loving as possible as parents, as brothers, all that, is going to change everything. But then we all have these lines we don't cross. It's like, what if we asked ourselves, what's a loving politics look like? What's a loving education system look like?
Right.
What is loving medicine?
Trigger.
No one wants to go there.
Right.
The reason we don't go there is because those industries have been hijacked by greed. All of those are corporatized, capitalized. I mean, those are all places of commerce now. They're places where commerce shouldn't be happening. Right. Commerce has no place in education or in healthcare. But
okay, I have to just freeze you right there.
Okay.
That okay, did you guys even hear that? Okay, so
Did you hear that?
I just went into like an altered state where I was hearing what you were saying, and I just felt the energy of you rebuking commerce in sacred places.
I overturned the tables.
You overturned the tables. That's the metaphor that came up. I felt it really strongly, and it's like, you know, I think that
commerce in the wrong place. I mean, even Christ in the temple with the merchants, he wasn't saying don't be a merchant. He's just saying this is sacred. You're defaming this space, and
you just spelled it out. You said the quiet part loud, girl.
What did I say?
You did. You said that these are places where there should not be commerce.
Yes.
And so what are the places? Let's hear that again. So you said a few things, but are there other ones? Education is a place where there should not be commerce. Healthcare.
Almost every sector of society, really. It's like healthcare. People, every human being on the planet should have their physical needs met. They should have access to clean drinking water. They should have clean food grown in good soil. It should be like, we need to feed our people. Would you let your children starve?
Right.
No. Would you let your children not have proper medical care?
Okay, but no. People are going to hear this and they're going to say,
yes.
They're going to say, look, I have to work really hard to pay my bills.
Yeah. How
on earth are people just now going to go get everything that I work really hard to pay for? Everyone's just going to go get that for free.
Isn't that beautiful? Look how powerful you are. That you have the capacity, the gift to work every day. Hopefully you're doing something that you love. If you don't, figure out a way. Mm-hmm. You have free will. Do something that you love. Mm-hmm. And that you are so powerful, you're creating prosperity for other people. Mm-hmm. And it's possible, you don't want to do this out of fear, but it's possible that some month, some year, some lifetime, you're going to need the person who needs the free support. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also, you pay taxes, brother, sister. Look at where your taxes are going. They are not going to keeping humanity well and united and fed and nourished. Most of our taxes are going towards something that's dividing us mm-hmm. and keeping us unhealthy. I mean, the system, until we wake up and see how fucked the system is. I don't swear as much as I used to, but every once in a while, you know, until we get clear about that, the change won't come. Like, until you realize how unwell your body is, you're not going to wake up and do the things to become more well.
Right. We
just need to see how broken it is. It's like, you know, somebody in my membership the other day said, she has a fear, you know, it's like a very deep internal fear of hell, like this kind of heaven-hell dynamic. And I was like, don't we live in hell? Right. Isn't this it? Right. Like, it's also heaven, and I want to be the mm-hmm. heaven on the earth. You know, I want to bring it down.
Right.
But this is wrong. Like, we're trafficking children. Right. And, you know, the indigenous population of Canada, at least, does not have access to clean drinking water
so
from
this
land
is
we
extremely
stole
important.
from them. Like, what?
This is extremely important because the idea that first of all that any of this is happening is based on fear-based context, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is, first of all, the fact that we are now, for the first time ever, a society that can globally communicate and therefore globally meet any needs.
Yes.
We are now able to meet extremely specific needs at a moment's notice.
And yet we refuse to meet those needs.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
I mean that part. That's the part right there where it's like, okay, so we can, but there's clearly a fear-based context because when we hear, I can already hear the voices. I already hear the voices when I say that. I hear some of you listening, and I'm hearing the thoughts say, well, the system can't operate if there's no profit. The system doesn't work if certain people aren't making profit. Profit and competition around profit is how we do better. It's how we make things better. Different companies and brands have to compete.
You don't have to compete. You can cooperate. Competition is of the ego. The ego mind is always going to divide.
Yeah.
The ego wants to know who's superior, who's inferior, who's worthy, who's unworthy. And it's a projection too. It's like, am I worthy of divine favor or being or love when I'm at my worst or anybody helping me? All those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I worthy of that love? Until that question's answered, I'm not going to even really be able to say not only am I worthy of that, but these people who I do not know, whose situations I'm not connected to, who they might actually go need this free service in a way that I don't right now, they're actually also worthy of that love. And sometimes love literally does look like groceries.
Love looks like groceries. Yeah. Love looks like groceries. It looks like honoring the individual for who they are in the educational system. Love is inclusive. Love is everybody's in. Your shadow's in, your light is in, my shadow, everybody's stuff is in. And when you get to that place, you have so much more to give. You're going to choose a job that you love. You're going to heal your wounded stuff. I mean, the guy who's thinking, I go to work every day, and why should I give anybody else a handout? They've got some unhealed father issue. They never got told that they were loved. There's some, whatever their shadow content is.
Okay, so let's just say something right now. Anyone within the sound of my voice, I have to just tell you something, and this is true.
Okay, you're gonna. All right.
You are loved.
You are loved. There's
You're
no question.
loved.
The ego asks that question. So, like, if your child came to you and said, "Are you gonna be a daddy or are you gonna be a papa? What are you gonna be called when you have a child?"
Well, I call my dad Papa.
Okay,
so
you're
I'm
Papa.
gonna be a Papa.
Okay, so your child comes to you and says, "Papa, do you love me?" What would you say? You would say, "You don't even need to ask."
I would say, I love you so much. I love you more than anything in the whole wide world.
Before you were born,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what you do, when I'm in heaven, all the things.
Yeah.
It's one of the many beautiful things about parenting, is you just start to get this taste of how God loves. Right. You get a taste of inclusiveness. I think, parenting really is the, I don't know if it's the easiest way. I think it's the most direct way to embody Christ consciousness. Mm-hmm. Because you move into that state of unconditionality, of inclusiveness, right?
Mm-hmm. What about
God
the people?
loves us that way.
What about the people who are listening who didn't have that?
Move into the longing of it. Move into the longing of it. And I think, this is an oversimplification. I think people change either because they're in a lot of pain and they decide, okay, I can't take any more pain, enough, or they have a vision. So either the pain's going to propel you or the vision is going to compel you. And so you can move into I didn't get the love that I wanted, which is everybody's story, by the way. It's everybody's story. It's part of being human. And there's this whole, I talk about this actually in How to Be Loving, the wound to healing sequence. You come in, everybody has a fantasy. Everybody has a fantasy about getting your needs met. You want perfect unconditional love. Your family's unhealed. You're not going to get it. So then you go through this ladder, downward ladder of you feel resentment. Of course you feel resentful.
Right.
You know that it's yours to be had. You're just not getting it from your birth family. Then you feel some guilt about feeling resentful. And then you feel shame. And then you keep going down as, gets a little more heavy and gnarly until you finally get to forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Oh, my parent's human. And that's when you become your own parent. And that's when you start to think thoughts like, we're all in this together. Oneness consciousness. Hey, maybe I should do something joyful. And I have an infinite amount of things to give. Like, I'm going to farm. You need something? I got it.
Right.
What do I have that you need? Let me share. That's what most people actually want to do on their best day most of the time.
Right.
But it's not how we're raised, and it's not how any of the social structures are set up.
Mm-hmm.
They're exclusionary. They are greed-driven, and it's all fear propagation, all systems. Mm-hmm. There's a right answer, there's a wrong answer. Since you start school.
Right.
And if you are wrong, you are not worthy of the grades, of the access. Then we can get into just...
Well, what's so interesting about that, I think, is just that vibration of entering into a situation when you're still in that extremely vulnerable state before like that magic age 8, age 9 concretization that happens.
Yeah, you're fresh.
So you're really fresh. Preschool, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, are like extremely important. And that is a place, even though they're sweeter about it and they're a little bit softer about it, you're getting a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Mm-hmm. You're still getting a yes or a no, not a yes and, I think that's one of the things that I love about the Montessori community.
Yes.
I think in my understanding, it's one of the best things that I've seen that holds space for the genius
of the individual.
Which
is love. Which is, I have got enough love to give. I'm so full of that virtue. I'm not threatened by you being something else. You don't have to believe in my stuff. You don't have to share the same opinions. And that applies to 4-year-olds and it applies to 40-year-olds.
Right.
Yeah. And this is like the secret, well, it's not a secret, but this is a dynamic too in a healthy relationship, which is my experience of, unhealthy dynamics. Is when someone is so unhealed that they can't step out of the small self for a minute to entertain any other perspective. And so the other person is just feeling unseen, unheard. It's just like, don't you love me enough to set your opinion down first? Isn't my pain more important than your opinion? Mm-hmm. And people spend decades in relationships where their opinion rules over somebody else hurting. Right.
And it's an indoctrinated thought system.
That's right, because they start indoctrinating us. From birth.
Mm-hmm.
From birth, yeah.
Because we're each other's teachers. When you go to school, what do? You play school. Mm-hmm. You play school and you play house. Anything that we see them doing, we play. Mm-hmm. And I remember early on, I was like not into the school dynamic. And so at school, I rebelled, but at play, I was the teacher, bitch. I was always wanting to teach the class, you know what I mean?
I get it.
And so the second I would learn something at school, I would teach it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, it was the power dynamic. Mm. The teachers seemed to be able to set the entire schedule, the entire system, do whatever they wanted, and that... I think it's a natural thing for a young person to feel like, for that to be one of the things that they're drawn to. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's the one who can choose what's up in this room. Mm-hmm. I want keys to all the cabinets,
Mm-hmm. My nursery school report card said, Danielle likes to play mother and is very bossy. And here we are.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Wow. Well... We must be twin flames, same kind of thing, where, but on the inside of me, I didn't see that, but now as I'm 35, I can see how that personality trait developed and expresses. And it is related to the
indoctrination.
It's a combination of the indoctrination and my soul's yearning for liberation. And one of the ways that I saw someone with more freedom than me. And
I'm going to split
wanted
hairs.
that.
I think it's actually the personality's longing for liberation. The soul is free. The soul just keeps nudging you like, you could be so much freer than you are right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great hair to split. I needed that hair literally split, just like that. I've been waiting for that one to split. Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's the big truth, right? That the freedom's there already. Okay, so we're talking about how the New World religion, the key to like a peaceful, awakened society is love.
Yes.
And it's also the old religion that you're already participating in, that everyone is already...
Every mystic has spoken of this, and we have not picked it up.
So then what I'm looking at right here with this deck, this journal, and this textbook, this book here, I'm looking at a path. This, what I see and feel with these three things that you just created and that you have out in the world, and its subject matter of how to be loving. If love, this is like a mystery school initiation into the sacred chamber, the inner chamber.
I'm just talking about virtue instead of feeling. So what I got really clear on over the last couple years is that feeling good is not the end game of like spiritual development. That I want to be loving no matter how I feel. I had somebody ask me a couple months ago in our heart-centered talks, our membership, they go, how do I be loving if I don't feel like it? It's like, that's actually the best question.
That's it.
Because you rise above your feelings. You literally, you energetically, all the feelings come, lower chakra stuff, astral plane, watery stuff, mostly programmed. We're programmed how to feel, how to express about certain things. That thing happened, you should have an angry response about that. These are all the things that should make you happy. And I want to be unflappable. I mean, that's a really old word, but I want to be centered. I want equanimity. So
something the Alpha Gen might call unfuckwithable.
Unfuckwithable. I'm pretty sure that was my truth bomb. But
I loved your truth bombs, by the way.
Yeah, they'll come back someday. They're still around. They're floating around.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So no matter what happens, I'm coming from love, and it's a tall order.
Right.
But it's not about if I woke up in a good mood or not. It's not about if I got caffeine or didn't get caffeine. It's not about it's not about the weather. It's like I'm committed to the higher virtue, to embodying states of consciousness. States of consciousness, not feelings. We're going to have feelings. You use your feelings as your positioning system. This makes me happy. That's interesting. This makes me sad.
Okay, so can you, if someone's listening and they're not tracking, I want to hear, what would you say the difference between a state of consciousness is and a feeling?
That's a great question. Well, let's start with love. Love is not a feeling. Love is not an emotion. I know.
But I feel so loving.
I know. Now, let me tell you what's actually happening.
Me, yes.
Okay, you describe feeling loving.
I feel loving when I am in the presence of someone or something that makes me feel safe, joyful, inspired.
How does your body feel?
Maybe warm, open.
How's your mind feel?
Open, enthusiastic, upwardly mobile, positive.
What do you want to do? Like how?
Embrace, expand.
Right, you feel
more.
expansive. Okay.
Yes.
So that's a state of consciousness. That's heightened.
Right, because I said open a bunch of times and expand. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to guess that when you're there, I mean, you can unpack this with me, but that you're tapping into something that's always there. It helps you feel connected to something bigger than yourself. Like, it does have this eternal quality to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is love. Like,
mm-hmm.
wow, we're all made of this stuff, right? Okay, so that's state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Happy. I'm happy I got the coat. I'm happy it's sunny out. The coat goes, it starts to rain, not happy. I'm happy, I'm not happy. It's up, it's down. We feel 900 emotions a day for reasons that seem mostly out of our control.
Right.
And that's that astral, watery quality, right?
Right.
The trick is have your feelings, be interested in your feelings. Don't be too interested in your feelings. And don't identify as your feelings. You are not sadness itself.
Right.
Sadness is passing through you. You are the consciousness that goes, wow, that happened, I felt this way.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still this consciousness that's like observing. So use the bigger you, the Buddha nature you, to be like, I'm just going to let love. You know, this is all very biblical stuff too. We're like, I'm going to be the vessel. This is what embodiment is. And the hallmark of moving from, you know, we've been in the age of Pisces. These are 2,000-year-ish cycles. Now we're in the age of Aquarius. The hallmark of age of Aquarius is unity consciousness. So what happens, you know, you got to learn to be self-centered. It's part of your development. I'm an individual. We realize, you know, you're we, and you realize I'm separate from my parents. And then I got to pave my own path, blaze a trail, great. And then you have a few fires you walk through and you go, wow, we're actually all one.
Right.
Right? That is part of moving towards, I'm going to embody instead of be at the whim of my feelings or chase feelings. I want this goal. Just, you know, listen, nobody is chasing a goal. They're chasing how they want to feel at the end of reaching that goal. And if it's about the feeling, I can tell you, I mean, I've had thousands of conversations now about desire and kind of aversion, which is the same side of the coin,
Right.
and goals, and how many people I think the hardcore goal chasers, the crushers, very little celebration in achieving the goal, and on to the next thing by the next morning. That is not peace. That's actually not how you build wisdom. No. You need a shavasana. So my experience is ego-centered goals. I'm going to prove. And maybe your proving is to God. Like, I'm going to prove I'm worthy. I'm burning my karma. Okay, great. But there's still a kind of striving to it. Like, I need to do this in order to be more valuable. Heart-centered goals. I feel called. I feel supported. My happiness is connected to your hand. I'm going to do something amazing with this achievement. I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this in a loving way. I'm going to grow love from this. I mean, can you imagine if we baked that into politics?
Well, it's so interesting. First of all, yes, amazing. Love that you just brought in politics out of nowhere on that one. Hell yeah, I'm obsessed with you. So first of all, that. What you were talking about really made me think about the two schools of, the two largest schools of Buddhism, which is the Hinayana and Mahayana. And the path of individual liberation versus the way of the Bodhisattva for the highest possible good of all beings. You know, and we could barely get to that way of the Bodhisattva without the Hinayana path. The Hinayana contains all Zen, Theravada schools, all mindfulness schools, a lot of these actual practices to get you to a place where you can get to that third school of Buddhism, which is Vajrayana, which is like the very complex tantric practices. You know, to even get to anything, you need that Hinayana school. We need some level of getting our own shit together.
Yes.
But then that second school...
You have a personality. It's you are designed a particular way, fearfully and wonderfully made, biblically speaking, and astrologically, you are mapped out. And I came across this beautiful concept when I was writing How to Be Loving about Swadharma. So Dharma, most of us get like, Dharma is your path, you're going to walk it this lifetime, right? Swadharma is sort of like your Dharma jacked. So it's like, Swadharma is, you have your path, but the swa, or the sva part is, you were designed this way. You're going to salsa that path, you're going to flamenco that path, you're going to meditative walk that path. And to not be you is actually a bit sinful. I mean, wouldn't be a Buddhist term. You can hear my Christian leanings towards this, I was raised Catholic. But it's to miss, sin means to miss the mark. So, yeah, I've experienced this at different parts of my life, which is like, maybe I should just drop out of this game.
Right.
All this social media stuff, and I could, just do quiet things.
Right.
And really willing to do that. Why would I do that? Part of my Swadharma is I have all this Gemini in me. I have all this Virgo in me. Must communicate in a way that's service. And that is how I am designed. I'm going to honor that design. I actually love this game, right? All these
And you're good at
ways.
it. And you're so good at it.
If you love it, your chances are,
right.
Not all the things. I mean, some people aren't great dancers, but joy, everybody wants to,
Yeah.
But there are gifts that are placed in each individual that are inarguable. And to not unwrap those gifts and share them freely with the world, I think is a real setback. I think you're going to, it's painful. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing where you're coming from and your approach, and I want to just hear more about what we see inside this system of how to be loving what you have here. I'd love to hear more about how you break it down and what the approach is.
Yeah. Okay, so the question goes from how do you want to feel to what do I want to embody? And
oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah. How do I want to feel versus, not versus exactly, but an evolution.
It's evolutionary. So yes, get clear on how you want to feel.
Right.
It matters. You'd be amazed. You have this conversation, people are like, I didn't know until I got out of whatever that I realized my feelings are the heart of the matter. Yes, but don't stop there. So what do you want to be no matter what? What's the virtue? So how I describe it is, imagine that you have this sun, a huge sphere of light shining above you.
Okay.
That's source. That's the infinite. That's your...
Right.
Yeah, okay. And off of that incredible light of consciousness are these individual rays of light. Those are the individual virtues. So it's like the mama energy is love. It's the fabric that holds the universe together. Right. And then that mama has compassion, and it gives birth to a ray of forgiving, and it gives birth to a ray of joy and resilience and radiance and all these things. So all these virtues. And you as a personality are a ray in the great light of creation too. And the term to understand really means you're standing under the light. You are standing. I'm going to do all the things to get under the light of consciousness. I want to align myself with truth. And how do I do that? I think a lot of us, we hear the term alignment a lot in this space, but we don't really know what it means.
Right.
Alignment means that you are underneath that which is true. And there's a way to get underneath that, which is you meditate. You have a contemplative practice. You don't consume too much shit that messes with your brain that you can't hear higher consciousness clearly. You put yourself in the time and the space to receive from universal mind. These practices work. And then they're just basic mental hygiene.
Yeah.
And then, and this really is my thesis, that if you focus on living a heart-centered life, you don't have to worry about fixing yourself. Stop with the fixing. Because we all know what you focus on grows. And if you're focusing on, I'm broken, I'm greedy, I'm insecure, I'm afraid of this, I'm neurotic, all those things, what grows? All those things. Do you want to not be those things? Of course. Of course. You want to live peacefully, you want goodwill, you want to sleep at night, you want to be happy, But just focus on the virtue. I want to be loved no matter what. I'm going to be loving to myself no matter what. No matter what I did in the past, no matter what my addictions are. I want my tone to be compassionate. I want to text with the energy of forgiving. Whatever the virtue is that you want to bring down. And then anything that's not in alignment. So, you know, here's this light pouring into the vessel that is your life, this lovingness, and anything that's on the fringe, all the neuroses and the fears, you expand and it just gets dissolved. So focus on the love, the fear starts to melt. Focus on the fear. Oh,
it feeds it.
It feeds it, yeah.
Yeah, there's something really interesting. I love the analogy. You painted a good visual there that I think is like a helpful one. And I was just sort of like going there with you, and I saw the ways that certain things will still happen in the three-dimensional world of our lives. Things will still take place. But when I carry that vibration with me, when I am that light in that room, if you're the only light, if you're the only one that brought a light into a dark room, then that room is actually now like illuminated.
Yeah.
You know?
Doesn't take much.
So so things will still happen in our lives, and we'll still have to move through all kinds of crowded rooms with all kinds of things that are needed from us in all kinds of circumstances, you know. And we can actually have an enormous amount of like almost like energetic lubrication by having a vibration of lovingness, you know, as we navigate them. Some scary things will still always inevitably take place in certain moments. Many of them will evaporate in the presence of love. Many of them will just disappear in the presence of love. But there will also be moments where that love gives you what you need to get through a situation that isn't immediately transformed.
Yeah, you're tuning into the endless resource. Like me being lovingly kind, me practicing loving kindness with you, it fuels me. There's no way, like, if I'm going to be a conduit for love, I am going to get the benefits of that. And just, you know, as a recovered Catholic, I really had to get that, and this is why I love Buddhist prayer, I had to get that I was also going to be the recipient of whatever miracle I was praying for somebody else. Like, I'm going to bring through a little miracle energy to send to that person for some healing. And now, I mean, this is why one of the key prayers in here is the Medabhavana prayer. May I be happy, healthy, free of suffering, free of mental anxiety. May I live in peace. May my life be blessed with ease. And then you go on and you offer the prayer, may you be happy, and so on. And then the final refrain of the prayer is, may we. And I loved it so much because, well, there's a beautiful story, which I can tell you if you don't know behind that prayer. But I just like...
Would love to hear it.
I get to pray for myself.
Right.
And I get to pray for somebody really specific who I'm in harmony with or in disharmony with. And then I get cut. It's so thorough. I'm going to pray for everybody, and it includes the animals. This is amazing, you know?
Right.
And I just like, oh. But this is what I learned about that prayer, the prayer, you're going to dig this, is the basic story, the most common story around the prayer is that, you know, Buddha is meditating under the tree, and all of his, you know, fellow monks, they come in and they're just like, this enlightenment thing is rough. We're having a hard time with this, you know, this meditating thing. And yeah. And he said, do the Medabhavana prayer and come back. And apparently they went off, came back, enlightened.
Nice.
But here's the other layer, is that all those monks were praying in environments that were against them. So it's like the townspeople were trying to get them out. They were like, you know, anti-monk. And one group of monks would be meditating, and then townspeople like create these terrible stinks and stenches, try and throw them off. Other people would be banging pots and pans to like get their concentration all off. And as the legend has it, not only did they achieve enlightenment in doing the Medabhavana prayer, but the communities around them changed to the point where the communities became their strongest protectors and supporters.
Wow.
And did everything they could to remove obstacles so they could practice. And it's like, that is the power of inclusive prayer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, and, you know, speaking of, you know, your, like, Christ-centered upbringing, you know, in Catholicism, that was, like, the OG Jesus prayer, too. I mean, it was all about, you know, everybody else, praying about everybody and being there with everybody. And what Jesus said was basically like pray for the people that are against you.
Yes.
You know, and
it's one of the most powerful things to do.
And then whatever we do to anyone, we've done to him.
Yes, we do unto ourselves.
Exactly. And so it's like taking that in and saying like, wow, I have to actually systematically, I think this is an exercise. Like I see it as like a spiritual and metaphysical exercise, and it's every bit as physical as any physical exercise, which is actually shifting your energy and directing your energy to where you believe the Menabhavta prayer when you bring it. You know, when you believe it and you send that energy where you're praying for it to be sent, and you have that actual desire in your heart that you open up to and tune into for good things to happen, you know.
There's a beautiful story. Somebody asked, I think it was Nisrata, I hope I get it's the right guru, and they asked him, you know, Master, how do I pray for others? And he said, there are no others. So prayer for somebody else is a prayer for you, vice versa.
Love that. Yeah.
So everybody should have clean water and free education and free medical care.
Okay, I've been really trying to make this episode about you and your amazing books, How to Be Loving, but I have to say everyone should buy How to Be Loving, the deck and the journal and the book, and they'll look beautiful, and I love what you're all about, and I just know these are going to be amazing. And also I have to just say 2 words.
Okay.
And I just need like a thought association immediately.
Okay, I love that. Go.
These 2 words are Marianne Williamson.
Oh. I can match it with 2 words. Real deal. Mother Queen. Christ consciousness. Very brave. Sweet friend. Balls of steel.
And I'll just add another one just because I'm like with you in it is full body yes. Full body yes. I trust this person. This is someone, like people who are listening don't know that we actually know who we're talking about. We're not talking about somebody. This is somebody we talk with. This is somebody
we have a relationship,
that we have a relationship with. So there's something different when in a situation right now where people, it's like rumors in school. Have you ever, like in high school, heard a rumor, but you know that person, and that ain't the vibe. That's not true. That's not real, and you immediately know. And then you go to that person, and you're like, why are they saying these lies about you? Because you already know it's not true. That's how I feel when I hear negativity about Marianne. I'm like,
yeah, they don't understand.
I'm like, you literally don't even know what just happened. Someone tricked you. Someone lied to you. Something was misunderstood. There was like a glitch in communication, you know, because what I see, and someone who's been interested in politics since I was a kid, I met Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, both when they were in office, and I was all about it. Like, let me tell you, you know, I was into politics. I volunteered on Obama's campaign, volunteered on Bernie Sanders, both of his campaigns. I have been into this as an interest, as an individual, you know, and from a family with an interest, you know. Marianne Williamson is literally who we've been waiting for. She's actually the one that everyone on both sides of the aisle in the US and also in all the many different dimensions internationally, she's the politician we've been waiting for. And the actual establishment, status quo, who would like to knight their successors, you know, as any good mentor would want to do. They want to knight their successor. Makes perfect sense. That's not democracy. So
that's not democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marianne speaks common sense, but in a society that's crazy, it's really hard to like get on board with that sometimes.
Right.
But this is the intelligence of the heart. What Marianne is laying out is the new earth, and I can see people who are down with that, and you know, you get the yeah but, and it's like, no, are you going to have the courage to like vote for the idea? Then, but you know, and we are operating in systems that are extremely corrupt and dysfunctional, and but these are ideas that are sane.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sane.
And I think that we're still adjusting. I think our collective nervous systems and the stories we've told each other and the things that we're entertained by, like all of these things.
Things we're entertained by, big one. Look at the garbage that most people are ingesting on a regular basis.
Right.
And this is part of the mental programming that's going on. And nobody that I know is above it. If you have a subconscious self, an unconscious self, a conscious self. And the unconscious self is hearing all this stuff. It's hearing the lyrics from everything you listen to.
Right.
It's hearing all of the, the dialogue, whatever source it is, whether it's a podcast or it's mainstream so-called media, part of you is getting that. So we're getting programmed all the time.
Right.
Use your free will and your heart intelligence to program yourself in the affirmative. Are these messages aligned with the life you want to live? Ingest more of this. Is this food that is actually fuel for the body that you want? Great, ingest that.
Right.
Is this a technology that's going to expand your consciousness, not interrupt brain patterns and manipulate you into something? Then bring that in.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that too few of us really, and I think this is something that we do unlock when we begin the contemplative practices, too few of us really see our place in a larger context of the collective unfoldment of our great family lines.
Because we don't value ourselves. We're caught in that story of worthy, unworthy. And if you don't feel worthy, if you're asking it and you haven't yet answered it yet, then of course you're worthy. You're the beloved. Everybody is the beloved.
Yeah, check that out. That was for you.
That was for you. Then how are you going to feel like you're going to be the blessing when you walk into the room? How are you going to feel like your vote matters? How are you going to feel like your opinion could actually shift how so many people think? How are you ever going to start your podcast? I mean, whatever it is. You have to know, like, you have value just for being here. You don't have to earn your keep. And somebody needs what you have. Yeah, you matter. Your opinion matters.
And so that place, your own